Hi guys, welcome back to another Minimum Wager's Kitchen. I'm Gigi and today I'm going to be showing you how to make some delicious baked beef empanadas at home. Not only are these tasty, they're also really easy to make, and I'm also going to be showing you how to make the pastry dough for the empanadas today. And guys, if you haven't made empanadas before, I highly recommend trying out this recipe. Super easy, delicious, and you don't have to fry it, you can just throw it right in the oven. Alright you guys, I'm excited to show you how to make these delicious beef empanadas today, so let's go ahead and get started with the recipe, shall we? Alright you guys, so we'll go ahead and start with the ingredients for the pastry dough for today. So for the ingredients for the pastry dough for the empanadas today, that's going to be 1.5 cups of regular all-purpose flour, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1/2 cup of very cold grated salted butter, and for that butter I definitely recommend using a grater. Make sure you use this side, it's much easier. And make sure to go ahead and chill this until you need to use it. So for the next ingredient, that's going to be a 1/2 teaspoon of just regular red wine vinegar, 1 egg yolk, and go ahead and save your egg white. We'll be using that to go ahead and brush the tops of the empanadas with. And for the final ingredient, that's going to be a 1/4 cup of just regular water. Alright, so for the first part of our recipe here for our pastry dough for the empanadas, I'm going to go ahead and dump our flour right in, and our salt, and our grated butter, which might need a little bit of help. There we go. Next, I'm going to go ahead and use a pastry cutter, which is this guy right here, and get the rest of this butter out of this bowl here. So now that our butter, our salt, and our flour as well is in the bowl, I'm going to go ahead and start cutting the butter into the flour. And what I want to do is make sure that this turns into little tiny crumbs. And really what I'm doing is just going back and forth, making sure there's no butter stuck to the bottom of the bowl, and just keep cutting through. If you get a lot of this stuff right here, you can just go ahead and push those butter pieces and flour through, and you're set to go. Alright, so that took about a minute to about a minute and a half, so not very long at all. And this is really what you want it to look like. Kind of like course meal. So yeah. Alright, so the next step is going to be making sure this stays nice and cold. So I'm going to go ahead and stick this back in the fridge, and let's go ahead and get our wet ingredients together, shall we? And this part is also very easy. So for our wet ingredients, that's going to be our water, the red wine vinegar, and the egg yolk. Well, maybe I didn't need this big of a bowl. So now we mix. Well, now that our wet ingredients are all mixed in and our dry ingredients are nice and chilled, let's go ahead and mix these together. So for the first part, I'll go ahead and make a well right in the center here of our crumbled butter and flour mixture, and add our wet ingredients. Next, I'm going to go ahead and start folding that flour mixture with the butter right in the center of that well. Now we're going to go ahead and just start incorporating all those ingredients until there is no more flour sticking onto the bowl. And you can definitely use your spatula and do this right in the bowl. Grab that dough and fold it right in, and just keep going around. That way all that flour that's not stuck there will. Alright, you guys, so there is the dough ball. So there's the pastry dough. That only took about 2 minutes, so not too long. So the next step, grab a little extra flour and just kind of sprinkle a little bit at the bottom of the bowl. And now you can get rid of your spatula. Add about a teaspoon on your hands, clean hands of course. That way the dough doesn't stick to your hands. And now you're going to quickly work with this. Alright you guys, so our pastry dough is done. And I'm just checking through to make sure that I completely well blended this. Of course, we want to make sure that this is well chilled. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is give it a quick squish. Just a little bit of a quick squish here. That way, it'll cool a little bit faster. So this is going to go in the refrigerator for a good half hour. In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to make that delicious beef empanada filling for our beef empanadas. See you in just a moment. Alright, so next is going to be our beef empanada filling. So for today, for our beef empanada filling, that's going to be 2 tablespoons of olive oil. And for the spices today, that's going to be a half teaspoon each of salt and pepper and cayenne. There you go. And I also tossed in here into the spices 1.5 teaspoons of cumin. So for the next ingredient, that's going to be 2 cloves of minced garlic. I had some puree garlic, so I went ahead and used that. Next, it's going to be a half each of green bell pepper and red bell pepper, and I went ahead and just gave these a quick chop. And of course, for that main ingredient for our beef empanadas, that's going to be a half pound of lean ground beef. Next ingredient is going to be a half sweet onion, and again, I just kind of gave this a quick rough chop as well. We're also going to be using a whole jalapeno today, and go ahead and give this a quick mince. And we'll also be using 3 tablespoons of tomato paste as well, 2 tablespoons of red wine vinegar, and for the final ingredient, that's going to be chopped up olives. Typically it's green olives. I had some tapenade in my fridge that I need to use up, so I'm going to go ahead and use up a little bit of the tapenade. I did take out the capers though, just to let you know. That will affect the flavor. You can leave those in there if you want. Really up to you. Alright you guys, let's go ahead and put all these ingredients together. Alright you guys, so let's go ahead and get started with this beef empanada filling. So I've gone ahead and started warming this up here for my stovetop, and I've got this at a medium-high right now because I don't want to burn my olive oil. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the olive oil. Pour that right in. And let this warm up for just a second here. And coat the bottom of that pan. I also highly suggest a slotted spoon. This is going to make your life so much easier for this. Alright, so for the first ingredient, I'm going to go ahead and toss in those red and green bell peppers. Woo! I'm going to go ahead and turn this just a little bit down. Give those a quick stir. Next, I'm going to go ahead and add the sweet onion, the jalapeno. Now I just want to make sure everything's coated with that olive oil as well. And get these veggies to start sweating a little bit. Go ahead and add your minced garlic or pureed garlic. And mix that right in. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and let these veggies saute here for the next 5 minutes, and I will see you in just a few moments. See you in a moment. Alright, you guys, so it's been about 5 minutes or so, and these are slightly softened now, which is really the texture we want. Don't really want to cook these all the way through, but yeah, that way all the liquid's gone. They're not sweating anymore. But you also don't want to caramelize them either. This will really help too during the process when we add our ground beef, our spices, and the rest of the ingredients. That way we can get that full flavor of the jalapeno, the bell pepper, and the onion and garlic as well. Next step is going to be adding our spices, and that was our salt, our cayenne pepper, our regular pepper, and also the cumin. Go ahead and give this a quick mix. Wow, that smells good. Next is going to be adding our ground beef. And we mix. Next is going to be that red wine vinegar and the tomato paste. And now we mix again. And for the last ingredient, that would be technically the green olives chopped up, but today I'm going to go ahead and use this delicious tapenade. Because, well, it's the minimum wager's kitchen, and that's what I have in my cupboard. Alright guys, so now I'm really going to go ahead and just get this beef browned. And that's in about a medium to medium high heat. We really don't want to get any burn off from that olive oil. And we also don't want to burn that garlic too. Alright guys, I'm going to go ahead and finish cooking this through, and what I want to make sure to do is brown that meat. This will take about a good 10 to 15 minutes or so. And just make sure you're giving it a quick stir so it's not sticking to the bottom. Alright guys, I will see you in just a few moments. See you in a moment. Our beef empanada filling is done. And it took me a good 15 minutes to get it cooked off here. So that's what it should look like. And really here, let me actually show you a little bit closer. So the veggies, you can see, they're not falling apart or anything. You want a little bit of that, softness, but at the same time, a little bit of texture as well. So I'm going to go ahead and let this filling cool off here. That's probably going to take a few moments. What you can do, if you need to cool it down right away, you can put it down on a baking sheet and just make sure you just kind of flatten everything out, and then you can stick it in the fridge for a good 20 minutes and you should be ready to go. Alright you guys, next up is going to be our empanada dough. So now that that's been chilling in the refrigerator for a while, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to roll those out and then fill the empanadas and bake them as well. See you in just a few moments. Alright, so for that empanada filling, I want to go ahead and cool this down a little bit quicker, so I'm going to go ahead and put this into a pan here. And spread this out evenly. Get the rest of this in here. There we go. And now what I'm going to go ahead and do is stick this in the fridge for a good 20 minutes or so. That way it cools out pretty quickly. Alright you guys, let's go ahead and roll out some pastry dough. I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of flour to my surface here, and that's really so that our pastry dough does not stick to the counter. And give it a little swish swish. There's our dough here. And give a little flour on the top as well. That way it doesn't stick all over your hands. And I'm going to go ahead and press it down to a circle the size of my hand. Next step, I'm going to go ahead and cut this into 6 pieces. Make that 8 pieces. Alright, so the next step, I'm going to go ahead and fold those pointy edges towards the middle like this. And make a ball. Again, so you're going to go ahead and get the edges in, and then just keep doing that same motion, and you finish the ball. And if you need a little bit of flour, perfectly fine. Okay, and what we're going to do is work pretty quickly again. Gotta remember, keep that butter cold. Woo! Lost a ball. Alright, now that our dough balls are ready to go here, for pastry dough today, I've gone ahead and sprinkled a little bit of flour on the counter here. So next step, I'm just going to go ahead and lightly coat this with a little bit more flour. And again, clean hands. And now let me give it a quick smush. Flip her over. Quick smush. Just to give it a quick start here. And now, make sure you coat your counter. Also to the center, make sure it's as flat as the rest. Alright, so next step is get a little bit of flour here on your rolling pin, and what you want to do is you just want to start rolling. Alright, so we got our first one here, and this, if you thought was a purse, which I think is very super cute, nope, it's not a purse. I don't think my phone would fit on there. But this is a empanada press. So it's a pastry dough press. You can also use it to make other things as well. So let me show you how thin this is. Pretty thin. There you go. And what you want to do next is basically make sure it fits on your pastry dough press. Alright, so let me go ahead and put this one aside. Alright, so now I'm just going to go ahead and put a little bit more flour for the next dough ball. And just like we did earlier, go ahead and make sure that there's a little bit of flour on the top and on the bottom. And let's go ahead and give this a start. So we'll start from the center and out. Flip over so it doesn't stick. That way you're getting a little bit of that flour, and make sure that your counter has a nice amount. Alright, so now that we have our circle to start out with, let's go ahead and grab that rolling pin, add a little bit of flour, and roll. Okay, flip. And there you go, and to the next one. Alright guys, I'm going to go ahead and get these all finished up, and I will see you in just a few moments to get these filled and baked off. See you in just a few moments. Well, you guys, while our pastry dough and our beef empanada filling is cooling off, don't forget to hit like, don't forget to hit subscribe, and don't forget to hit that notification bell so you know when the next video is up. And you can also find me on Instagram and Facebook on Minimum Wagers Kitchen. Alright you guys, so our empanada beef filling is now cooled off. That's what it looks like. And as you can see with the lean ground beef, there's really no grease left behind. If you do, make sure you use a slotted spoon when you're going to go ahead and fill your pastry dough. Reason is, it's definitely going to go through right through the pastry dough and make a really soppy mess. So definitely make sure that you have these as dry as possible. Alright you guys, so the next step is going to be filling our beef empanadas, and today I'm going to go ahead and use this very fancy, I guess not so fancy, but very simple, just little pastry press. So this one I got for $3 on sale. So what we're going to do, you don't need to oil or anything for the plastic ones. Also too, remember that there's a lot of butter in this. So what we're going to go ahead and do is line this up, just like that. It does not need to be perfect, you guys. And make sure that the bottom is all touching. Now, the huge thing here is don't overfill. So what I like to do is I'm going to put my finger right where that line is right here, and you'll see the seam right there. So I put my finger right there, and I go ahead and put about 2 to 3 tablespoons. You're not putting a ton. Alright, next step. Now that we have our filling in there, we'll go ahead and gently close it and press lightly. And let me go ahead and move this back so you can see this a little bit better. And voila! Empanada. Alright, I'm going to show you one more. So, go ahead and line this up. And, again, where the seam is, and then we press. And that way, you have your little perfect empanada. And voila! Alright you guys, I'm going to go ahead and finish these up, and I will be back in just a few moments to show you what they should look like. See you in a moment. Alright you guys, so our beef empanadas are done. So those are all pressed. And those are the nice ones. I did want to do a couple of examples to see how these come out. One of them I did a really thin crust around the edge. Also too, I left the excess a little bit on these two to see how those turn out. And then I just kind of very messily put this one together to see what happens. So we'll find out together here. But in the meantime, these are what it should look like. As you can see, there's a little bit of flour on top of them. I didn't want them to get all sticky, you know, while I was pressing them in the pastry press. So, next step is going to be that egg white we saved earlier from the egg yolk. And we're going to lightly brush these with a little bit of egg white. You can use egg yolk if you want. I'm preferring to do this way because, well, eggs in the US are crazy expensive, and I just want to try to use this up. Plus, it'll give it a nice texture as well on the top. Alright guys, so now that we have our egg white wash on here, let's go ahead and pop these in the oven. And for the oven today, I went ahead and preheated the oven at 375 degrees. We're going to go ahead and put our beef empanadas, our very delicious beef empanadas, into the oven for a good 20 to 25 minutes. We want that crust to be nice and golden on the top. It's also going to give it a nice flaky texture as well when we try it out. Alright you guys, let's go ahead and pop these in the oven, shall we? Alright, I'll see you in about 20 minutes. See you in 20 minutes. Alright you guys, so those beef empanadas are ready to come right out of the oven. So let me go ahead and turn the oven off. And let's take a look. Ooh, those look nice. Get that first tray out. Hot, 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 hot. Actually, put this one right here. Alright, let's get that second one. Ooh, hot, 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 hot. Ooh, those came out awesome. Alright, so that's turned off. And let me go ahead and show you what these look like. Try not to burn myself, and also to not spill them. Whoop! So these are the ones that we made to make sure that we took the edge off as well. So those came out super nice. Well guys, these smell incredible. And unfortunately they're lava hot, so I can't try those quite yet. But let me go ahead and let these cool down for just a little bit. I'll plate them up and we'll try them together. See you in just a moment. I'm excited. Yum! Well, you guys, everything is plated and I've got our empanadas all cooled off here. Well, at least not lava hot, so I can try it out. But yeah, let me go ahead and show you this one here. Yeah. Super yum. Take a look at the back there. Nice and, ooh! Don't let that slide off there. And if you noticed, the pastry, the top of it is nice and flaky. So I am very excited to try these out, and they do smell very good too. And here are the other three. And I'll go ahead and show you the ones that I did a couple of mistakes on purpose, so that way you don't have to. So for this one, clearly I overfilled it, and two, it was starting to break apart here. For this one, had way too much dough on the top here. This one I went ahead and just kind of turned that dough in, but as you notice, it's really, really thick, so it hardened quite a bit. And for this one, I did not press it all the way and had a little bit of excess, making it so it kind of like flopped in. So yeah, the best suggestion is to make sure you just cut the edge off. Don't press too hard. Just make sure it's sealing it. Alright you guys, I'm not waiting any longer. I've got to try these out. They smell so good. But first, before we try them, let me go ahead and break one open and I'll show you what it looks like on the inside with the filling. Alright, so let me break one open here right in the center. And you'll notice right away that it doesn't drip. You know, it doesn't have like a bunch of drippy oil or anything like that. So that's awesome. And then of course too, completely filled on the inside. Yeah, so we didn't overfill it, which is great. We got just the right texture, and look how thin that pastry dough is. I am so excited about that. Now you can kind of take a look at the crust. So flaky. And the interior. And show you the other piece as well. So many veggies too in here, it's great. Alright, you guys, I'm super excited. Let's go ahead and try this out together, shall we? Mmm. Yum. Mmm. That is really good. The bell pepper, especially the red bell pepper, a little bit of that red wine vinegar in there, sweetened it up quite a bit. Also too, a lot of the recipes will say to use tomatoes in there. I use tomato paste just because it has a little bit of that sweetness, so it heightens the flavor just a little bit as well. I'm gonna have another bite. This is really good. Mmm. Well, enough of the filling. I gotta say the pastry dough itself too, super flaky. Now remember too that we kept that butter super cold, and that's why we got that nice texture on the top and that nice flakiness, so that we can really keep that dough super thin and still bake it off without having a bunch of oil or anything at the bottom of this. And again, let me show you the bottom, because that's super important to take a look at. This is really what you want. You don't want any soppiness, any oil kind of like seeping through or anything like that. Oh my gosh, these are so good. Mmm. Well, this is going to be dinner for me. That is incredibly good. Wow. I can't get over the crust, actually. Mmm. What I really like is this pastry dough for it, especially because it's baked. So good. Mmm. Well, you guys, I don't know about you, but I'm putting this down and walking away from that because, wow, that is so good. Okay, one more piece. Well, you guys, I had a great time showing you how to make these delicious beef empanadas today, including the pastry dough as well. And this is such an easy recipe, you've got to try it out. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe so that way you can find more recipes. And in the meantime, I will see you on the next Minimum Wagers Kitchen. See you next Saturday. Bye. Mmm. So good.